It's your Catholic Drive Time
with Joe McLean and Emily Alcaraz.
Praise be to Jesus Christ. We're going to be joined right now by Zoom chat, Stephen Herried. He is a Catholic and political commentator, and of course the big story is out of D.C., so we're happy to have him on the program to give us some perspective. Good morning, Stephen.
Good morning, Joe. How the heck are you?
Praise God, I'm alive. How are you?
As far as I know, I am too, but my wife isn't out of bed yet, so I'm not sure. I'll have to ask her.
Well, it is early, but God's grace in all things, and the early bird gets the worm, as they say. So now, yesterday, we were talking about this in the last segment with the What's Concerning Us. It was kind of heart-wrenching to watch the situation unfold yesterday. What was it like for you watching this peaceful rally, devolve into chaos?
Well, so what I was looking at was the reactions to it from outside. So I didn't even see the events.
Really?
I wasn't there. I missed it. In fact, I felt terrible that I wasn't at the Stop the Steal rally. I felt so guilty about it that I sent my stimulus check to the Stop the Steal people and just said, here, I want to send my stimulus check back to the Capitol in style.
Wow.
I thought of it as paying someone else's way to the rally. I'm with them in spirit, and I believe in what they're doing. I felt terrible for not being there. But while what happened yesterday was going on, what I was looking at is commentators, leaders on the right, many of them Christian, immediately and reflexively, with no information, reacting, I think, very uncharitably. What happened, one thing that happened, that we do know happened, was a military veteran, a young woman, was shot dead. That was by, I believe, a congressional security guard. Maybe he was antsy, whatever the reasons were. But the other thing is that this was hundreds of thousands of people, if I'm not mistaken, at this event. And then the people who, quote unquote, stormed the Capitol were probably a smaller number. And as soon as you see what they're doing, everyone reacts as though everyone in D.C. is a terrorist.
Right. Yeah.
And that was, it's funny, but I've noticed in my few years on Earth that some of the people who emphasize charity, kindness, peace, nonviolence are some of the most violently uncharitable people I've ever seen. And to reflexively and immediately say, those people are bad, all of them wicked, unlike me, I am good, in response to news is never right. And that's what I saw a lot of. And there's a lot of messaging, by the way, that you hear from anyone who's an opponent of, let's say, the godless secularist left. Among leaders in our camp, roughly speaking, half of the commentary you hear essentially boils down to, gosh, aren't all of us awful except me? And it's not even addressed to what Archbishop Vigano might call the children of light. It's addressed to the left. And what it really means is, don't hurt me. I am afraid. I will do your bidding as long as you leave me alone.
As long as you leave me alone.
Yeah, that's sad.
We're speaking with Stephen Herried, Catholic and political commentator. And, Stephen, back when the BLM riots were taking off, Antifa, BLM, and remember when they were in front of the White House, I'll never forget listening to the chilling words of Dan Bongino the next day talk about that event, because Dan had served as a Secret Service agent protecting President Obama, and he knew what it meant to have to fend off rioters on those grounds. And the way he described it, it brought chills to my bone. I served in the Marine Corps. I have been trained in combat skills. I know what it means to shoot, move, and communicate. And the way he described, based on his conversations with his colleagues that were there that night and defending the White House property, he said they were moving in coordinated fashion, and they were intent on piercing the fences and getting in. And I thought that is absolutely insane. This is a whole new level of insanity. I have to tell you, I felt a little the same way yesterday, watching the video of protesters break through barriers, use those very barriers to scale walls. This was insane. This was insane. On the whole, how did you feel about just hearing of the news, let alone having not seen it?
As soon as I heard it, I have become so cynical, Joe. I'm sorry. As soon as I heard it, I thought, who am I hearing this from, and who's going to benefit from it? A great commentator called Jay Richards, who's a great follow on social media, and he's also got a lot of content. He's worked with EWTN. That was also something he immediately said. He said, "Who stands to benefit from this news? Not the right."
Right.
Yeah. And not the church, not the unborn. This was, and from what I've seen since, I cannot make sense of it. There's a huge rally. Everyone knows of it for weeks. It's coming. And the military deployments and the Capitol Hill police and
hold that thought, Stephen. We'll let you finish that thought on the other side of the break. Now, before we went to break, you were making a point. I'm gonna let you finish your point if you want to pick up where you left off.
Yeah, the whole thing doesn't make sense to me, Joe. I don't understand how there's a massive rally. We know of it for weeks ahead of time. Military forces are deployed to a degree to provide security. There's Capitol Hill police, there's Secret Service, there's congressional security, and they can't stop people from storming the Capitol building.
Well,
I don't know how that happens.
There's video. Elijah Schaefer with the Blaze actually was standing, and he has video. You can check it out. It's posted up on the Blaze. You can actually see the video of the point where the rioters were arguing with the very few police officers standing by this barricade. I mean, there was just very few there.
Yeah, I saw that.
And they eventually get to the point where they are tearing down the barricade, and then they use the barricade to scale the walls. Like, that is insane. And then, of course, when it did get very serious, then all of a sudden we see the numbers of officers and various other, authority come out in mass quantity. I mean, to see when I was watching the video of the police officers high up on the terrace shooting tear gas down into the crowd, boy, that gave my heart a minute or two to stop and ponder about the seriousness of the circumstances. It was a little otherworldly, to say the least. But and I guess to your point too, one of the other things that I was thinking was how quickly we all react. I'm putting myself in this category. We all react to what little information we actually have and know. Knowing who's involved, not knowing what's going on, just throwing things into the mix. And it happens on mainstream media. It happens on other media. It happens with everyone. And my Facebook feed was going wild. And as I said earlier, Facebook actually thought I was one of the gentlemen inside the Capitol building. The guy with the communist tattoo on his palm, on his outside of his hand, standing next to Rathgar the Viking guy. Facebook thought I was him and was trying to tag me in all of his photos. And I'm like, no, I am not him. No, I would not have stormed the Capitol.
That's radical solidarity, Joe. You have to be.
Thanks, Stephen. Thank you.
Yeah, he flew in after the show.
It's too bad Stephen couldn't finish the interview. Isn't it bad that Stephen had to go? I'm teasing. All right, let's transition a bit here. We have about 10 minutes left with Stephen Herried. Where do we go from here? I mean, how do we're obviously, Joe Biden is the next president of the United States, and he will be sworn in less than 2 weeks. And we all know that even though he identifies as Catholic, he espouses ideas that are repugnant to Catholic faith. And we have to find a way forward. I say it's evangelization in spite of the law. What do you say, Stephen Herried?
Amen. Yeah, evangelization in spite of the law is nice. I also think that there's one of the biggest threats that I've seen on the horizon for a while is COVIDism. if you can call it that. It's like it's not the disease. It's a movement. It's a brand of ideology. The lockdowns are a huge problem. They are killing people and ruining lives and reshaping our country and our culture. And we need to put a pin in that. We really need to stop it. It's extremely important. Now, luckily, it is possible to go to a decent red county. And I did. I actually moved ahead of this year.
Did you? Where did you move from?
I moved from Dane County, right outside of Madison, Wisconsin, which is a very, very blue part of the country. And, I made a difficult decision where I said, I'm not going to be a thorn in the side of this deep blue area. I'd rather be part of a healthy community that I can help build up and that can be a refuge for people who realize that they have to get out.
We call that Texas, Stephen. I'm not sure if you got the memo, but no, I'm only teasing, of course. But I think that's a trend that a lot of people, obviously, speaking of Texas, you have tech giants moving to Texas. It's a massive immigration influx into states like Texas and others, and you're seeing it even down to the county level is what you're saying.
Yes, and I think that if you can't make it to Texas, if you have family in a blue county or whatever, and they refuse to leave or whatever, it's not a terrible idea to go to a good, solid red county where there's a decent church. And what we can do is, there's a local guy here who I really admire, Joel Postuma, who is a owner of a restaurant and bar, and he refused to close. And he's a very upstanding guy. He's kind of a pillar of the community. And he called the sheriff, who he knew was a good constitutionalist guy. Basically said, I'm not closing. What are you going to do about it? And he had a conversation with the sheriff and basically kind of made the sheriff say, well, I'm a constitutional. I can't do anything about this. I'm not going to enforce this on you. They might take away your licenses. And Joel said, well, I'm going to die if I comply with the orders. So I might as well, stay alive as long as I have my license. So he's kept it open. Little things like that should be encouraged, and you can build up your local community. And I think that's a fine thing to do. And also, don't give in to. Here's the thing: my pastor is Father Richard Heilman, and he's a great homilist, an interesting guy. And he said over the summer, when he looked at BLM and Antifa riots, where there were literal murders, and it was not being prosecuted, because big left money basically had inserted district attorneys and attorneys general and sheriffs into the areas where these riots were happening, and they would not prosecute them. Plus, the media patted them on the back every time they rioted and ruined lives and shut down businesses and burned things down. And my pastor said, what this teaches is that bullying works. So we're changing the culture. People looking on today, especially as they come of age, are learning violence and just hectic bullying.
We're there, Stephen. The cancel culture is off the chains anymore. You can't. We were Adrian and I were discussing this off air earlier. We live in a day and an age where we have people who can't have opinions because their employer may fire them because of the pressure placed on the employer. We apparently being employed means you have no First Amendment rights anymore. And that's the day and the age we live in, that you can only have an opinion so long as that opinion agrees with the culture that decides to cancel or not cancel. And we see a lot of acquiescing going on as a result of that. And that's not good. Violence is terrible, and we shouldn't resort to it ever, in my opinion. However, we have a situation here where there is a certain amount of people within this protest that were at a stage where they felt like, I even watched a video on LifeSite News this morning. The guy said, what else were we supposed to do? I don't agree with this guy, to be honest with you. I do not agree with him. However, this was part of those people that went into that building yesterday. They felt like they had to take the building, and I believe they were wrong. Stephen Herried, what say you?
I don't think that was at all constructive. But part of why it wasn't constructive is because we have an extremely uncharitable and fractured right. You can expect what happened yesterday is the left did what you can always expect it to do, and unfortunately, a lot of the right did what you always can expect them to do. It's like an inchworm. the left pushes a way of doing things, violence, right, without repercussions, all over the summer. The right it resists even mildly. I mean, for one thing, were any of the people who went into the Capitol armed?
No,
not that I know of.
Except for the guy with the horns, he had a spear.
He did have a spear, and I think that was really kind of cool, if you're honest. But
I'm sorry, I don't think that guy was cool at all. He should not have been there.
No, that was nonsense. And by the way, he's one of the guys that a lot of people are saying is Antifa or BLM or something.
I think
he's there for the party.
I want to say he was more related to QAnon. There's images of him floating about that are related to QAnon, and that is otherworldly as well. Yeah,
well, and frankly, it's pretty obvious he's not. I just don't think he's a serious person. He was there for fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, you look at that, and unfortunately, like I said, reflexively, within minutes, you cannot have a healthy movement in the face of a coordinated, coup, for that matter. If this is election theft, in the face of an extremely coordinated, ruthless, essentially Marxist movement with backers in all of the institutions of power and influence, from corporate power all the way through people in the intelligence community. When you're facing an enemy like that, you cannot be this cringing, disparate group that will apologize for something you didn't even do on command. And that's what happened yesterday, unfortunately. I mean, like, everyone on the right is guilty until they say they're sorry. It's like one of those silly children's games where you have to put your pointer finger on your nose. And that's what it was like yesterday. It was this big game of who can the most quickly say that this is wrong loosely and let the left define what it is that we're saying is wrong.
We only have about a minute.
Help create. Okay. Well, basically, all in all, it helped create a narrative that everyone at the Capitol was wrong. Everyone sympathetic to them is a terrorist sympathizer. And that was evil to participate in.
Well, I could say this. Neither here nor there of who was involved, who decided to make this breach, who decided to perpetuate this. At the end of the day, the result is the same. The last chance the people had that went there to make their voice heard was taken away because of the chaos. And that is the sad part, too. So, Stephen Herried, Catholic and political commentator, thank you for being on our program today. We appreciate our conversation with you.
Thank you, Joe.
God bless you. God love you.
Thank you for joining us on Your Catholic Drive Time, where it is our pleasure to keep you informed and inspired.
Join us Monday through Friday at the same time, right here on your favorite Catholic radio station.
Don't forget to connect with us. Just go to facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Again, that's facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Be sure to share more than just us today. Share Jesus with everyone you meet.
Bye now, and God love you.